Hey, I'm Anna with Magnolia Media. Welcome to the MaG Show. Today I'm in Jackson, Mississippi with Grammy Award-winning Courtland Liddell. Hey, congratulations.
Thank you. I
I am
appreciate it.
so proud of you.
Thank you.
So Mississippi, as you probably know, has more Grammys than any other state per capita.
Yes, I actually found that out like recently. I had no idea when they told me. I was like, oh, we do? Okay.
You won a Grammy for audio engineering. How did you get into music?
Well, believe it or not, a lot of people don't know this about me. I actually started off in visual arts. I started off as a visual artist, so I used to draw as a kid. Wanted to be a Walt Disney animator. That was my first career choice. Either that, but I always still had a love for music. So even as a kid, I wanted to be a recording artist. I wanted to be a R&B singer. I was a huge Michael Jackson fan. That's pretty much who I grew up listening to. And as I got kind of learned a little bit more about the music industry, I eventually, outside of being an artist, I wanted to be an A&R, which is artist and repertoire. They're usually the guys that actually find talent. They sign talent to labels. And ultimately, I wanted to be a record executive. But like I said, even just going back to as a kid, I always had a love for the creative field as an artist. I wanted to be a visual artist, and I love to draw. And I actually have won some Scholastic Art Awards. My artwork was published in a children's art book when I was a kid. I have a commendation from the city of Jackson. So
you've been at it for a long time.
Yes, ma'am. I've definitely been a practitioner of the arts and a career in the arts since my adolescent years.
I love that. You joined the Army.
Yes, ma'am. I joined the Army in 2005. I graduated Murrah High School, and at first, it's funny, when I was a kid, I also wanted to be a Navy SEAL. So it was pretty, interesting. I was interested in the SEALs. My dad was actually a Navyman. My brother, he was actually in the Navy as well. And I just kind of, I found out about the SEALs. I was like, oh, they jump out of planes, they do secret missions.
They're bad.
Yeah. And I was one of those kids because I grew up in the 90s. So, G.I. Joe was a cartoon show. So I used to watch shows like that. So I was into that type of stuff in action movies. And so, yeah, graduated 2005. The Navy didn't work out, unfortunately. But ultimately, my buddies who were with 2nd 20th Special Forces Group, which is a Mississippi Army National Guard unit, they were here. They was like, hey, you should come be with the Green Berets. And I was like, what do they do? Because I had no idea what they did. It's like they do the same thing Navy SEALs do. I was like, all right, cool. And so I joined the Army.
And thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you. Because in high school, I wanted to be an artist, but not a singer anymore. I wanted to be a rap artist. So I got heavily into hip hop and rap, and I was looking at doing that, but that really didn't pan out. And my best friend, Jameson Parker, he was a producer and also a rapper, because we met around 2001, and we actually ended up going to Murrah High School together. We were both in the Power APAC program. He was in music, I was in visual arts and everything throughout high school. And, when I graduated, I remember I came back home from Army basic training around like 2006. I was from basic training, AIT training in airborne school. So I came home 2006, and a family member was like, hey, I want you to produce a project. I'm like, dude, I'm a rapper. I want to do what you do. I want to rap. I don't make beats.
Right.
And so I went to my best friend Jameson, and he's the one that really kind of taught me how to make beats. And so basically, that's really kind of like where the journey really kind of segued itself and really kind of started off. And just pretty much from there, once I actually got adapted and really just decent at making beats, I was all in. That's all I wanted to do, was make beats all day, every day.
Right.
That's
you were hooked.
Yeah, it was like a drug for me. It was an addiction. So I actually crashed like 2 of my mom's computers making beats. So you can imagine.
How did you come across the ability to work on, or the honor to work on the song Your Power?
Well, that's a journey within itself too. So I'll just kind of go back to when I started making beats. I was producing. I was doing that for some years, and actually I got deployed, like I said, and when I came home, I was looking to go to school. And by that time, I also was working at a studio here called Sonic Signature with local audio engineer Leroy Jones. He was the owner of that studio. And so I was a producer, and I kind of, he was showing me some things about engineering at the time. And then I asked him, I said, hey, Leroy, I was like, I really want to make this into a career. What would you recommend? What school should you recommend? He looked at me, he was like, if you want to go to school, Courtland, he was like, don't go to school for something you could learn right here and I could teach you. So yeah, he implanted that into me. And so I found out about SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design in Savannah, Georgia. And so I showed it to him. I was like, well, Leroy, I was like, what do you think about this school? And he was like, what are they teaching you? I was like, they're going to teach me how to mix movies. And he said, that's why you go to school. He said, because that's something I can't teach you. And so with that, I went to school and I started learning audio engineering outside of kind of what he had already showed me. They just showed me a little bit more about Pro Tools from a standpoint of how to work on film and television shows.
Yeah.
And I would come back during the summers. While most people, they would probably go home, or sometimes they would do internships in other countries. I would actually come back home and spend my summers with Leroy in the studio. And that's where my audio engineering career began to take flight. Once I graduated Savannah, I went to Atlanta. I ended up working with T-Pain. I co-wrote a song with him. Then I was working at Street Execs, where I got a job to be a full-time engineer at Street Exec Studios in Atlanta. I didn't take it because I just wasn't prone to the environment. It wasn't the best environment that I felt for myself or for my career to flourish. And so I ended up teaching at SAE. I did that for a while. Then I was a chief engineer at Bandwidth Studios, which is now called Bandwidth Studios in Atlanta. Then it was called Great Matter Collective. It's owned by multi-platinum producer Will Power, who's Yellow Wolf's producer. And so that's where I met my friend Jubilee. Jubilee was a record producer, and we had met when he was, I think, 18. And a couple years passed, and we eventually rekindled. And I was working on a record for him, and he just loved what I was doing as an engineer. And so he kind of said, "Hey, man, I'll need an engineer. You want to be my engineer?" Went from there, and lo and behold, he ends up working with Lecrae, and that's how the song segued itself into me.
So what I'm hearing is you really made a lot of right choices. You have said, I thought I was going to do this, I wanted to do this, but I ended up doing this. It's almost like you have some great instinct and you have put yourself in the right place with the right people.
I'm very calculated in my moves. I'll sit back and I'll analyze and look at situations. So one of my brothers named James, he always used to tell me growing up as a kid, he used to always say, "Baby bro, watch your surroundings. Pay attention. Be mindful of the area and places that you're in." And so just even in the music industry, that's how I navigated the industry. I would really pay attention to people. I would do my research on people. I always like to know who I'm dealing with, their history, how they got to where they were. So, and I would just sit back and I would just watch and see how they actually went around the room, their career, the steps they took, and I would say, okay, this is somebody I want to align myself with, or this is a situation I want to align myself with. And some of it honestly was just dumb luck and just, really, and it was,
I love your honesty.
And it was God really practicing away, because even though you hear the triumphs of my story, there's also a lot of pitfalls and a lot of hardships that I endured that many people don't realize that go on behind the scenes in the record industry.
That's why I wanted you on the MaG show. I told you I view you as a community leader.
Oh, thank you.
I hope that young gentlemen in Mississippi look at you and say, I can pursue my dreams. But they look at you and say, a lot of work went into those dreams.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of work. It wasn't something that happened overnight.
Right.
By no means. I mean, I've been engineering since, I would say my engineering career really kind of started off 2010. So we're in 2024. So you're looking at 14 years, even prior to that. Like, a lot of people don't know all the money that was invested, outside of me buying my own equipment too. My education was $45,000 a year. So if you do the math on that.
How'd your mom feel about those computers you crashed?
She wasn't too happy
that
about it.
That was a step back. That was
You're
one of 8 children. You have 7 siblings. You've lost a sibling. You lost your father at a young age. That obviously had an impact.
It's definitely been hard. I mean, my father, he died when I was 3, so I guess I was kind of very young to really feel or know what it was like to lose a parent.
All you know is life without.
Yeah. So, but essentially, even with that, it's still those moments to where I wish I could have asked my father certain questions and just, get guidance from him. Because my father was an entrepreneur. He had his own business, and I even now have my own business and aspire to grow that business, of course. And I just really wish I could have reached out to him for guidance and just had those conversations, even son to father conversations about life. And also, losing my brother was a real heavy toll and hit, not just to my family but even to me.
How old were you?
My brother, I've been grown, so he's probably, Kelvin passed, probably, it's been 3 years now, maybe. So it was like a recent death. And he was a real backbone and just really just stronghold and just strong foot in our family. My brother, many of our family members know, like you said, you read my Voyage article, and it said he really kept me from the streets. My brother, growing up, he was in the streets, But one thing about it, even in the midst of him being in the streets and things of that nature and doing some of the activities that he did, he kept me out of it. Like, he never was one of those brothers or siblings to bring me into that lifestyle.
Yeah, he didn't encourage you to live the fast,
He,
easy. That's
exact
what but dangerous life.
Exactly. He always kept
He was
that
your
totally,
protector.
yeah, he kept that totally separate from his family. Like he never brought like any of us into that or anything like that. And I always respected him for that
Yeah,
because, you hear so many stories of younger siblings following their older siblings naturally, and they end up in certain things that they were a part of.
right.
So I'm just very thankful. And he was also kind of like when our father died, he really kind of, when I was a kid, he really kind of stepped up and really tried to be just not only an older brother, but a representation of what our father would have wanted. It's a
Right.
moment I really don't talk about, but I remember I was working on a record, when he had cancer, because he died of cancer. And so I was working on a record, and pretty much I remember he actually passed in the midst of me working on this song. The record is called Purify Me. It's by an artist called Coogee Young. And so the record, and I was also dealing with other personal things.
Jeez.
Yeah, and so that record, and it had a lot of issues with it, but it was a kind of like a full circle moment in my life, because even with my brother leaving, and that record really means a lot to me in my career because of what I had to do to sonically make it what it is, but also because of the events that took place in my life.
You pushed through to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so even with that, one thing I have to say about Coogee as an artist, like most artists in the industry, you have deadlines. He was very understanding.
You've been featured in Forbes.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, they didn't mention me by name, but a record I did was actually featured in Forbes magazine. It was actually for the artist Trinidad James. I did his record Black Owned. And Forbes magazine did a write up on that record. So the record actually talks about Black owned businesses and things of that nature, about investing Black dollars back into Black entrepreneurship and things of that nature. So I was really blessed to actually work on that record by Trinidad.
That's huge. I mean, it's huge to me to hear this from a Mississippi man.
Yes, ma'am.
Because that's really like giving it back to the community and a way to inspire people to want to be like you, and to contribute to communities that have been held back by our state. Because whether or not we like it, it happens.
Yes, ma'am.
And we gotta do better. Right?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I agree.
I'm gonna read you some of your words.
Okay.
Some of the reasons that I was like, I need to interview this fella.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just a simple man who was and is still crazy enough to fight for my dreams and still be crazy enough to think his dreams aren't just dreams. That hit me so hard. I was like, you know what? I'm a little crazy too. And whenever I think about everyone I've ever interviewed that is doing something amazing for our state and amazing for the world, at some point someone has said, you're crazy or you dream too big. They have been encouraged to stop, but they kept going. I read that and it made me think of those other people, and I wondered if you've ever been told you're a little too far out, you're dreaming too big.
Oh, absolutely, all the time. I mean, the bulk of my life and in my career, I've been told, my dreams are old. I've been actually called crazy several times. Like literally,
we get that.
Yeah, literally, I hear that a lot. Like, oh, you crazy. Some people are saying it jokingly, and some people could literally mean it. I never question it. Hey, it is what it is, and I say, yeah, I am crazy. As they say, if you're willing to go jump out of a perfectly good airplane, then you ain't all the way there. But I mean, at the end of the day, I look at it like this here. You have to be crazy because in this world, crazy people, we're the ones that make the world go round, as they say. The Wright brothers, they were practitioners and adopters of flight. They were crazy. They were seen as crazy. They were like, oh, these guys are crazy. If it wasn't for them,
want to fly.
Yeah. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have flight. We wouldn't have airplanes. We wouldn't have the astronauts that go into space. So I believe in it. Yes. I mean, by far. I mean, like I said, I'm a simple man at the end of the day. But yes, I am crazy enough to fight for my dreams because I always tell people your dreams aren't just dreams. They're visions. And a lot of people don't realize is that when God, He gives everybody sight, but not everybody vision.
Yes.
And the thing is, I think a lot of people fail to realize is that it's your vision. It's okay if your parents or the people closest to you, they don't see your vision. It's not their vision. And yes, it hurts because you want them to be on board for your vision or for your dreams.
So that's where people get discouraged because people don't see their vision and then they quit. I just talked about this with an author She said, don't, there is, you're going to get rejected,
Oh
but
yeah.
keep going.
And I got rejected so many times in my career. It's been so many records I've wanted to work on, so many artists I've wanted to work
Your
on.
whole career comes from rejection.
Absolutely.
You're not with Walt Disney. You're not a record exec, you know?
And I'm glad you pointed out that, because
Yeah.
that is very true. And believe it or not, I've applied to multiple labels to be an A&R, and they all told me no.
But what are you? A Grammy
Grammy
Award winning.
I'm a Grammy Award winner.
Will you show the camera your jacket?
Oh yes. It has the Grammy symbol on. I'll stand up. It has the actual.
Yeah, let's see the
Grammy.
back.
So I don't know if the camera can see that.
It can. It can.
So really, what shocked me about the Grammy win is just the actual love from the state, and it's truly, I'm truly honored just not only to have represented my state and my city on such a just immaculate level, but for them to even be receptive of it, and even just to shout me out, and just to show me, you know, from the interviews, like, I can't say thank you enough for even taking the time to want to interview me, because usually engineers, we don't get this type of, you know, actual, I would say, press. We don't get talked to. It's usually the artists, it's the producers, the engineers. We're seen as the background, and that's one thing that I'm actually fighting for as an engineer, is for engineers to get the respect they're earned.
The other reason I'm glad to be sitting with you is because you're inspirational. Another thing you said was, so keep dreaming, and remember, dreams do come true. You just got to be willing to work and be crazy committed to making them a reality.
Yes, ma'am.
Every Mississippian dreamer needs to hear that. Mixed By Lidz said it. I love it. Before we turned the camera on, you were telling me some other wonderful tidbits. You're like, and I always say, will you share some of those?
Oh yeah. One thing that I live by is, it's a saying that I came up with: don't tell me what you can't do, tell me what you can do.
Period.
Yeah. We can do whatever we put our minds to. I mean,
amen.
I got a Grammy from an untreated bedroom. You know, who would have thought?
Yep.
You know, I grew up in what people consider the hood. You know, I grew up where, you know, it's not considered necessarily like optimal place for someone like me to even come from and reach the heights that I've reached.
If that's not Mississippi history, I don't know what is. I got a Grammy for working on a song in an untreated bedroom, not $1 million studio.
No, it wasn't. It definitely wasn't $1 million studio. I can tell you that.
You know what? That came from God and work ethic.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Amen. Like, won't he do it? That's what happened.
And that's why I tell people, you know, don't tell me what you can't do, because you can do anything. Yeah. Literally, it doesn't matter what it is. You just have to be really willing to work hard and have unwavering, unshakable faith. You have to be so committed to where people look at you like you crazy. you really have to be that committed, because that's what true success is. Mm-hmm. True success is pushing the bars, it's pushing the bounds. It's going when, you know, you feel like you can't go anymore, but, you know, you push beyond that tiredness level. Yep. I mean, you got to keep going, and that's the thing about it.
What's next for you?
So what's next for me is funny, interesting enough. Once I got the Grammy, I was actually considering retiring.
What? You're too young.
Yeah, but I'm not retiring. I'm not. Okay. I thought about it, because that was always my initial goal. What's next for me is I definitely want to travel the world, doing more music, more records. I've always had a saying: I don't want you to hear my music, I want you to see my music. Oh. I believe in it heavily, and I've always said I have several things that I live by and that I try to be a practitioner of in my life. One is that I've never been local, I've always been global. And I want my music to be heard, and I want to work with artists around the world, which I've been blessed to work with artists internationally as well, just, you know, locally here within the U.S. Yeah. So I want to continue to do that. I also want to fight for engineers so we can get the respect and the actual just pay that we are, you know, deserving of. Yep. I want to change the recording industry as a whole, because there are a lot of things that happen.
You are not retired. Oh my God. Yeah, I was going to retire, but by the way, this is what I'm up to next.
Yeah,
I'll keep going.
I'm definitely not retiring. I definitely want to grow my business as well. I love teaching. I love educating and sharing knowledge with people. So, I've been thinking about this legacy-wise, long-term. By the time I leave this world and leave Earth, I would love to have my own art school. That's kind of like one of my legacy things.
Yes, I love that.
Because I really want to change the way education is distributed for creatives. Now I'm definitely going to be doing some touring shows, working on some more records and more movies. But I do have some great, crazy ideas, as people say. that I believe can not only
stay crazy.
Yeah, they can not only change the world but also shape it in a better light and in a better way. So I told Mayor Lumumba when they recognized me is that, you know, we are is no reason why this state shouldn't be as big or as well known for music, such as states like Tennessee, you know, Georgia,
Yeah.
California.
Because we're the
Yeah,
birthplace
place.
of America's music.
Exactly. And that's one thing I'm like, you know, every year we miss out on $1 billion at least in touring revenue because every artist, they come right through 55. They pass right through Mississippi, but they don't even stop here and do a show. You know, we really need to change our infrastructure as it, you know, deems towards the creatives and the arts. And the thing about it is Mississippi has some of the greatest talent in the world.
Amen.
And the thing about it is, I think the legislative and even state representatives don't realize is that, you know, you have all these talented kids and people here that, you know, they don't go, or when they leave, they don't bring up Mississippi because it really didn't support their dreams or really give them opportunity to flourish. So I really want to change that notion for state and really make it known that we are a place not just of music, but of just great artists, from visual artists to writers to engineers, you know, outside of even audio to mechanical engineering. We have some very ingenious and very talented and smart people here.
So many. I mean, we're rich in the art community. You know, one statistic I bring up a lot is that we lose 2/3 of our educated population. So we send our kids to our state colleges, and then we lose 2/3 of them because they don't have enough opportunity here.
Exactly.
I wonder what the statistic is with artists, because I hear people all the time, I had to go to Atlanta.
Oh yeah,
I had to go to Memphis.
Exactly. You hear it more often than a little bit. They go to Atlanta. I mean, even to this day, I know recording artists that would travel 6 hours to Atlanta just to record.
We've got two from my hometown, Twisted Genius. He's in Atlanta. Big Crit. Atlanta.
Yeah. We are the birthplace of America's music. I mean, come on, we helped the Beatles. The Beatles got their sound from us. I mean, you know, country music, rap music, R&B, pop. You know,
we're home of Jimmy Rogers, father of country music,
exactly.
a blues guy, rock and roll guy, all the things.
So I mean, it's no reason why we shouldn't be, if not at least on par, toe for toe, or bigger than, you know, places like Nashville, Atlanta, or Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Because we are where music comes from.
And we could use those tourism dollars and put them right back in our education system, in our infrastructure, in our medical care.
Exactly.
But our legislation is more focused on privatized prisons, and let's keep that legal and going. You know,
when guess what? We could do better, and there's so much more money that we're leaving on the table. Even if we're going to talk finances, we're leaving so much money and revenue on the table, and just the opportunity to really show the world what has been right here in the South for so many years, and it's been overlooked.
Yeah, our soul's rich, and so are our souls.
Exactly.
Let's collaborate and bring everybody up who needs to be brought up, right? Who'd you take with you to the Grammys?
Oh, I took my mom.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to take the woman that not only gave me life, but she actually taught me how to hustle. You know, she taught me hard work.
Yeah.
She taught me, you know, pretty much not just trust on man, but trust on God. So, you know, my mom's a very praying, devout Christian woman. You know, I mean, we've grown up, I actually played drums in the church. And so we would go to church pretty much every Sunday. if we missed the service, it was something really wrong because we were at church religiously. So, you know, shouts out to my mom. I'll tell you 2 moments in her life to where, well, 3, I would say that I know she's the most proudest. One, when I graduated Army basic training, seeing me make that step in my life.
Yeah.
Second, when I graduated from college, because I actually didn't see myself going to college. College was not on my list of things I wanted to do. You know, luckily I found, I went to art school and I had the time of my life, and I actually fell in love with going to school. So to see me walk across that stage and get my college degree was another proud moment. And to also see her son walk up on stage, one of the biggest stages in the world, and receive the highest honor as a musician, that was a surreal moment. So yeah. I've given her, Mom, I've given you 3 moments now. All right, look. So but
now he's retiring.
No, I'm not retiring. But you know, I plan on giving her many more exciting moments in her life.
Thank you for coming on the show today.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for being an inspiration to Mississippians. Thank you again for bringing a Grammy home.
Yes, ma'am.
Magnolia Mops appreciates you, and I hope we sit down and do it again.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and honor. Thank you, ma'am.
Absolutely. Thanks, y'all.